joint inauguration ceremony celebrates the completion of 5 schools in Pintung. We visit to see how indigenous villagers are adjusting to lives away from the mountains. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lee-Shioda. Thank you for joining us. We begin the program once more in Serbia. Since the Balkan countries have now closed their borders, many refugees are stuck in transit. Therefore, Tzu Chi volunteers plan to provide needed food and daily necessities to further help. After the past few days, Tzu Chi volunteers have also earned the recognition of local officials, as well as caught the attention of the Serbian media outlets.
The short paragraphs appear in a local Serbian newspaper on March 10th. It said that the Tzu Chi Foundation, which has been established for 50 years, carries out relief missions whenever disaster strikes in the world. Tzu Chi volunteers have been extending their assistance to Syrian refugees in Jordan, Turkey, and Germany. After hearing about how Tzu Chi volunteers have been distributing winter clothes to refugees in Sid, government officials from Svenska Metrovia meet up with the volunteers to learn about their aid program. Since the Balkan countries closed their borders recently, the refugees are stuck for the time being. Therefore, volunteers from Bosnia go to the refugee camps to comfort the refugees.
2 of my daughters are still in Syria. I asked their grandparents to take care of them, but there is no one to care for them now. We suffered war atrocities in Syria, and we did not imagine that we would be treated unfairly after we fled our hometown.
The innocent children play with the volunteers happily, without knowing the anxiety of the adults facing an uncertain future.
I am here from 5 days. I was in Greece, continue my way to Macedonia, then to Serbia, and I will continue to Germany. But the police here on the Balkan countries closed the border.
Tzu Chi volunteers will be starting the next stage of assistance, providing food and daily necessities to refugees. In the meantime, volunteers from Bosnia, who have been here for the initial stage of relief work, are ready to take off. Therefore, other Tzu Chi volunteers thank them on behalf of Master Zheng Yan.
Tzu Chi's Project Hope of disaster risk reduction in Pintung County has been completed. 5 schools in remote townships in need of urgent repairs now have new buildings to use that will protect both the faculty and students from harm. We now join the joint inauguration ceremony.
The construction first began in October of 2014. Now, a year and a half later, all the schools have been completed and put to use.
A letter by Master Zheng Yan conveys her blessing and hope for the 5 schools in Pintung that were renovated by the Tzu Chi Foundation. The foundation's deputy CEO still remembers what it was like before the repairs.
I had just walked onto the campus and stood right about there. Already I could see the exposed steel, while pieces of concrete continued to fall off.
Ligang Junior High had its classrooms and taekwondo dojo rebuilt by Tzu Chi. Gongzheng and Neipu Junior Highs had work done on their classrooms. Fangliao Senior High got a new dormitory, while Gaotai Junior High got 2 new administrative buildings.
With some 200 schools, if we are to renovate each and every one of them, we will surely exhaust the county's and even the Ministry of Education's budget. So we must thank the Tzu Chi Foundation.
At this joint inauguration ceremony, Tzu Chi officially hands over the new buildings to the government and the schools.
Both our faculty and students are ecstatic to have such stately yet simple, tough and durable building that is built with universal love to use. I believe this will help our students focus better on their studies.
Now that the renovation is completed, students in the 5 schools and all future generations can go to school free of worries.
Among the schools that have been completed in Pintung is Gongzhen Junior High School. Next, we join their school anniversary celebration event at the campus.
The alumnus is excited about the opening of the new campus.
The school has been rebuilt. I graduated more than 30 years ago, and now I volunteer with the organization that helps rebuild the school. How can I not be excited?
60-year-old Chen Yingmao graduated from Gongzhen Junior High more than 30 years ago, having participated in Tzu Ji's Project Hope of disaster risk reduction to rebuild his alma mater. Chen has high expectations of the younger students.
Study hard and contribute to society in the future.
I hope the students will be able to contribute to society. They can study in this environment, thanks to many people who lend their assistance. The students are very grateful.
The school's buildings that were deemed unsafe to withstand earthquake have now been rebuilt and opened for use. The faculty and students also seized the occasion to hold school anniversary celebration, enjoying the safe environment and sunshine with bright smiles on their faces.
Since the horrible 9/11 earthquake in 1999, the government of Taiwan has implemented new building regulations to help make the new buildings more quake-resistant. The collapse of the Weiguan apartment complex once again reminded all citizens how vulnerable their homes are to earthquakes, prompting scholars and engineers to band together and publish their recommendations to the government. A historic city rich in culture, Tainan suffered extensive damage during the February 6th Minong earthquake. The collapse of the 21-year-old Weiguan Jinglong apartment complex once again reminds all the risk of jerry building.
This rebar here is bent at a 90-degree angle, but this one here should be at a 135 degrees to hook properly. It should also be 7 to 8 centimeters in length, but it is shorter.
Once the building collapsed, the exposed structures reveal questionable workmanship. On a press conference held jointly by scholars and engineers, the group reveals that strength of the reinforced concrete in the collapsed building was apparently below standard.
Though we saw many steel bars exposed, they were basically naked, which means the reinforced concrete that was supposed to adhere to them failed to do so. This is probably because the bonding strength of the concrete was below par.
Scholars who participated in the post-91 earthquake survey said many of the collapsed buildings in that disaster weren't properly built. More than 80% of concrete was not strong enough. Since then, the government has set a new Class 7 quake-resistant building code, which contains a clear guideline on the strength of concrete to be used and how the rebar is to be tied. In 2008, a new bill was supposed to bring current homes up to the new standard. Unfortunately, it was never passed, while sleazy contractors continue to cut corners wherever they can.
The new regulation states all buildings 50 meters and higher, or those that dig deeper than 12 meters, must pass inspection. So a building 49.5 meters in height can elude inspection.
The collapsed Weiguan complex was 49.9 meters in height. Also, the questionable business practice of the so-called one-time developer makes reinforcing the law impossible as well.
When you see a building being built, do you think there's an inspector keeping watch? Maybe yes, maybe no.
Then there's the problem of false filing. To minimize their overhead, some developers don't employ an engineer, but hire contractors right away. Then the contractor will prepare a report to be filed under an engineer's name.
Statistics show that of the some 8 million developments in Taiwan, a quarter of them were built by one-time companies who continue to switch their identity immediately after completing a project to avoid liability. Scholars say the three-tier quality management system and random inspections employed on public projects should be implemented to ensure quality during construction.
Take our work on this foundation, for example. For every 500 pillars we lay down, we must perform a self-assessment. Then a public inspector will come and perform a quality evaluation.
As far as public projects go, those who fail inspection will be blacklisted and barred from future participation.
The most effective solution is to follow through with quality control during construction. Government inspectors should randomly inspect construction sites and drill into beams. If a contractor fails inspection, a public notice should be issued.
To ensure building safety, the Ministry of Interior plans on modifying the current regulation so that inspectors from a neutral third party can go on construction sites to implement quality control. If a contractor fails to comply, the license for the new building will not be issued. Old homes can also be issued resumes to ensure transparency.
Like the current problem with the so-called sea-sand buildings, many homeowners aren't willing to get their home inspected, but the current regulation doesn't make such inspection necessary.
When homes are sold in the future, their resume should be presented. However, the current regulation doesn't address this issue very clearly.
The collapse of the Weiguan apartment complex serves as a reminder of the loopholes in Taiwan's building regulation. The government must learn from past mistakes and do its part to implement controls so as to protect the life and property of its citizens. Moving to Japan, after the incident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, over 7,000 residents were forced to evacuate from the surrounding area. Most evacuees were relocated to Saitama Prefecture. From their first days at the emergency shelter, a group of Tsuji volunteers have been by their side. 5 years later, the volunteers continue to revisit their old friends.
This day marks a new year for the Japanese. Today is also the day of a regularly scheduled meeting of Futaba residents living in Saitama. The earthquake and tsunami of March 11, 2011 forced the residents of Futaba City to evacuate their hometown. Many ended up here in Saitama Prefecture, where a regular gathering among the displaced residents is held.
We hope these meetings give people a chance to remember their hometown. We have planted trees, and we just borrowed this place for everyone to enjoy tea together and talk about old times.
Every meeting is filled with talk of the old town over warm tea. On each occasion, different volunteers are present, but after 5 years, the meetings have continued without interruption. Fuji Chikako is a regular volunteer at the gatherings.
The situation for Futaba residents is different from a lot of other areas. Because of the radiation, none of them are able to return home. It's disheartening, but there's not much anyone can do. Currently, there are about 10 volunteers who come here twice a month.
For Futaba residents that may never see home again, these gatherings are an opportunity for everyone to open their hearts and offer support to one another.
The nuclear plant explosion that forced us to evacuate to here.
I want to go back more than anything, but knowing I can't go home is the most difficult thing.
The most difficult thing is also what the residents hope for the most, to go home. We accompanied Mr. and Miss Ueda to their home here in Saitama. Using a tablet computer, they share images of their house in Futaba, which stirs a longing for their hometown.
でもこれ帰りたいなと思うとタブレットで自分で見るからうちの様子、育とかお友達とかのあれ。
双葉の方へ帰りが出るんですか。あそこに何か思い出物がありますか。
It's my home, my property, my everything. I grew up in Futaba. I want to return, but I just can't. I want to return more than anything.
It's not so bad living here. Our neighbors are very kind and have helped us a lot. We're very thankful.
There is also much gratitude for the love that has poured in from Taiwan and all over the world.
手触りがあれってあったかいのよ。他の毛布より。
On April 27, 2011, Tsuji volunteers arrived at the relief shelter at Kisai High School to care for the residents of Futaba, who were displaced because of the explosion at the nuclear power plant. The volunteers distributed blankets and relief goods.
We're very grateful for your assistance from the disaster until now. At the time, you were there to give us those blankets.
そうこれもらった時ね。
These blankets, imbued with love and warmth, are still in use 5 years on and have become a precious keepsake.
Over the past 5 years, one thing that is very clear is how much people from all over the world really express their love and concern for us in Japan. We especially want to thank everyone in Taiwan and the Tsuji family. You have done so much to encourage us coming here. We are very grateful.
These residents of Futaba, though far away from home, unable to return, are full of gratitude for the compassion of others.
On August 8, 2009, Typhoon Morakot brought severe devastation to southern Taiwan. It was in the wake of the event that the central government realized the need to let the mountain rest and repair itself. Thus, a plan to relocate those living in the mountains was enacted, and in partnership with Tzu Chi, Shanling DaAi Village was born. On August 8, 2009, Typhoon Morakot landed and destroyed Namasha of Kaohsiung.
It was around 8 when I got up. I opened the door and wow, the water had reached the door. I saw my house get washed away by floodwaters. It broke my heart.
Seeing the house he worked so hard to build destroyed by floodwaters, Liu Ronggui, who is currently working as a security guard at Minju DaAi Elementary School in Kaohsiung, was facing the biggest challenge in his life.
I was without a job, and my children were still in school. I just about went crazy then.
After his home and farmland were destroyed, Liu Ronggui, like many indigenous people who relocated off the mountains, could not keep a steady job. Unable to adjust to life in the city, some moved back up the mountain. However, Liu just left his heart there.
No matter what, I still firmly believe life was better living in the mountains. I want to go back, but seeing my home in that condition makes me sad, so I don't return much. When I encounter setbacks or my heart is especially restless, I will pray for peace. Religious belief is a big part of our community.
As their religious belief is the strength of overcoming their obstacles, a church was incorporated into the construction plan when building Shanling DaAi Village.
Their church was buried by debris, so when we built one in Shanling DaAi Village, it's not only in memory of the building, but also a symbolic gesture of our respect for their religious belief.
In the wake of the disaster, the government's decision to let the forest recuperate coincidentally matched Master Zhenyan's plea to the residents to relocate to safer grounds. The initial relocation program focused on the indigenous tribes in Ngani and Namasha. Together, Tzu Chi volunteers and the tribal elders convinced the villagers to move to the plain and also work together in where to build.
We first thought Liu Gui, but then we didn't want it sitting so close to a mountain, so that was out. The best area was here because before the 88 flood occurred, we often passed through here and were already familiar with this area. The second was that it's close to our homeland.
To speed up move-in date for the residents, the executive yuan quickly approved the construction plans and simplified the needed paperwork. The construction crew also took on the challenge of completing the project within 88 days.
At the time, the entire construction labor force in Kaohsiung was working for us. On average, we provided 400 lunches each day for the construction crew, with some days as high as 1,000.
While workers put in overtime, Tzu Chi volunteers and even the residents came to offer their manpower to speed up the project.
We would gather on either Saturday or Sunday to volunteer. We helped with the interlocking bricks at the church. In the wake of Typhoon Morakot, everyone was still in mourning, but we were still very glad to contribute our share.
Thanks to the hard work of the volunteers, government officials, and local residents, the project was miraculously completed in 88 days. The Shanling DaAi Village complies with the green building standards. It is not only wind resistant, but also quake resistant as well. Currently, 1,002 families live there, and there are 6 churches within the village. This village, with ease of access to daily necessities, is very much up to the international standards. Not only is there a Plaza Square shopping center, but also an elementary school to pass on the indigenous culture.
我记得他们可以教你们种那个红米，那个母语叫不滚。
Liu Ronggui is also responsible for tending to the school farm and teaching the younger generation the craft.
这边有时候教他们，我觉得很兴奋。
I'm quite excited to teach the children about this. If, as elders, we don't pass this on to the next generation, they will have forgotten this culture.
往地看得见，这个有
This is over 30 years old. It was relocated from the mountains. It's difficult to maintain due to the difference in elevation, so I'm quite happy it's doing so well here.
Just like the residents here, these plants have also relocated from their hometown. Surviving Typhoon Morakot, these plants, just like the indigenous villagers, are thriving well and securing new roots in Shanlin DaAi village. Next, we meet Venerable Master Wu Ying, the abbess of Xiangguang Temple in Jiayi, who was recognized as one of this year's outstanding women in Buddhism.
In Jiayi, century-old Xiangguang Temple is a place for worship for the faithful, and Xiangguang Bhikshuni Sangha was established here.
Promotion of Buddhism cannot be done by one individual. It takes the joint effort of a group. What we wear is a uniform. Once we don on this uniform, we work to spread Buddhism while cultivating ourselves.
How do we improve ourselves for the purpose of benefiting others? Venerable Master Wu Yin thinks that one must take Buddhist teachings to heart first. As passing on Buddhist teachings is the mission of the monastics, they must master the Buddhist principles first. To fulfill such needs, she established a Buddhist institute.
The classification of Buddhist materials has been outdated, so we reorganized them and made a glossary for people to quickly find what they need in Chinese sutras or books.
To pass on the Buddhist teachings from 2,500 years ago in the modern society, Venerable Master Wu Yin dedicated herself to education, training nuns capable of teaching the Dharma.
People are eager to learn Buddhist teachings. Why don't we expand the Dharma so everyone can understand it? So we need to do it by all means. The graduates of our Buddhist Institute are Dharma masters who teach at universities or publish books. They promote moral education to every family, teaching Buddhism and humanity.
Transcending traditional confines, Venerable Master Wu Yin works to train female teachers of religion, organizing Buddhist studies to promote the Buddha's wisdom and thereby illuminate the spiritual light in everyone.
It is never too early to start taking in Master Cheng Yen's teachings. In Malaysia's Selangor, a group of young students around 10 years old would listen to the Master's morning sermon each day. In total, 10 students plus their parents have done this for the past half year, which has transformed their lives. We will leave you with these images at the end of the program. See you next time.